Hey, Kelly, Mike Prater with KTIK Sports Radio and the Idaho Press newspaper. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to Boise. Welcome to Boise State. I'm a Utah guy and been following the Poppinga name for a long, long time. So it's interesting to have you on board. Tell us about the journey and just in terms of what happened with Bronco Mendenhall and his staff, and then you ending up at Boise State. How did that connection happen, and how did you end up at Boise State?
Yeah. So, I had 6 great years at Virginia, 13 great years with Coach Mendenhall. Learned a ton from him. He was my coach in college. And so, he's basically like a second dad to me, you could say, in a way. I've been with the guy for 15, 16 years and just have learned a ton with him. And, just at the end of the season, he just felt like for him, it was time for him to step away and take some time off. Who knows if he'll get back in it. I think only he knows that. But I think there's still an itch in him. So my prediction would be, that could happen, but I could see him going on and doing other stuff as well. But it was a shock to all of us. And there was a month there where I was just, scrambling to try to, get in on any job that I knew anybody. And really my connection was to Frank Maile. And we had played together at Utah State. And I just had stayed connected with him through the years and had reached out to him after the season, and, nothing had been available at the time. And then as Coach Collins had left, he reached out to me and then got me connected to Coach Avalos. And I had reached Spencer Danielson and I through the COVID year actually got on Zoom and got connected that way and shared some ideas. And so I knew Spencer, but not as much as I knew Frank. Just really those two connections really, I think, got things going. And then when I interviewed, with Spencer over the phone, and I did a Zoom call with Coach Avalos and Coach Danielson, and everything kind of just went from there, and it went quickly. And just extremely excited to be here, with such a strong tradition of winning, at Boise State. And, it's always been a great, for me, coaching at BYU, coaching against Boise State, I've always had the most respect for these guys and how they do things. And now to be in it, just to feel extremely excited and blessed to be here.
Kelly, you're coming here as the edge coach and a special teams guy, but linebacker is a very big part of your resume, dating all the way back to 20 plus years. And Kyle Van Noy, the success stories are all over the place out there. How do you, at Boise State, give me your initial reaction on the edge position and how it interacts with the linebacker position and how you can make those two groups better?
Yeah, I think they've done a great job recruiting that position. I haven't done anything to recruit those guys, so I feel really fortunate to come in to a spot where I feel like, man, I don't need to do much recruiting this year as far for this, for this 22 season. There's great depth, great experience. There's a lot of players that have had a lot of playing experience, which is great. That's always great as a new guy coming in to be able to lean on some of those veteran guys. Just extremely excited about them and just being able to see them work last week. I think they got great work ethic, just going through the film and watching them play. I think they play hard. I think they're physical. I think they're good players. So I feel very fortunate that way. They've done a great job that way. And so, just from my experience over the past 13 years, the edge players is the guys that I've been able to coach and I've had a ton of success with. And I've been really blessed. I've coached some really good players and just kind of plugged them into the system, and they've done the rest, I think, with their talent and ability. And I've just kind of pointed them in the right direction with certain things. I feel like this position, and what I always tell guys is that, and I told the group this when I very first met with them, as the edge players, as they go in this defense, as they are productive, and I call it havoc, as they create havoc with sacks and TFLs and knocking balls down, as we're doing that at a high level, the better off this defense is going to be. And, I really, truly believe that. I've seen it happen over my 13-year career as the edge players go, the defense goes usually. And extremely excited to work with those guys and have them, help them take the next step forward.
Kelly, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yep. Good to meet you. Thanks.
Kelly, how's it going? JTS, KTVB. Welcome to Boise.
Hey, thank you.
I know you kind of detailed a little bit of how your connection with Boise State went, but at what point in time did you start to realize that this job was for you, and why do you fit with what Andy Avalos's vision is?
Man, great question. So right from the very beginning, just talking with Coach Danielson, I thought I meshed with him really well. And just a lot of similarities, a ton of similarities in just the schemes that we've ran and the techniques that we've ran, just different verbiage, different ways to say it. But the way that we're doing it, I think, is very similar. And so, yeah, I gotta get caught up with the verbiage. There's a few different techniques that I haven't used before that they do that are really good. I like them a lot, that I've learned over the last week. And then, man, when I got on the Zoom call with Coach Avalos, I could tell that this guy was extremely detailed. I could tell that he had a great passion for Boise State, great passion for defense. And, I could tell that this guy just really knew what it would take to help this program win championships and get back to the tradition of playing in New Year's Six bowl games. And I was just extremely impressed with him. And so, and then after, 1 second here, I'm getting a call here.
You must be recruiting.
Knocked him off too, didn't it?
You probably hit the end the wrong thing.
Sorry about that. I had a call and I pressed the wrong button, but
All good.
really what I've seen over the last week is that, he's created a great culture, great family atmosphere. The players are bought in, and like I've said, I've just been extremely impressed with his detail, and I'm a really detailed guy as well. And just feel like I fit in for the needs that they had, not just on the edge, but also on special teams as well.
You also touched on this, but just to go a little further, having played against Boise State, having coached against Boise State, do you have any kind of those old war stories that you had going up against the Broncos, and what's it like to be on this side of the rivalry? Oh, by the way, you play BYU every year.
Yeah, no, it's great. I actually, the team booed me when they found out I played at BYU. They booed me in that team meeting, which was awesome. So I said, "Hey, man, I'm all in with you guys. Trust me, I want to kick their butts as much as anybody." But going back to 2012, I mean, Boise State beats us on a pick six. That was the only score they had the whole game. That nose guard pick six us, and they beat us 7-6. And so, I mean, I'm probably never going to coach in a game like that ever again. Our defense, played great that day, and unfortunately our offense threw a pick six and we lose the game 7-6. But, and then, we played some good games at home, at BYU when Boise State came down to us, and we were able to, win our last year there, 2015, just winning at the end of the game on that Hail Mary on the fourth down, Tanner Mangum throwing the ball up, and then us getting a pick six to end the game. So, I mean, there's been some great games. And then 2014, we go to Boise State and they just whoop our butts, so it's gone back and forth. And then when I was at Virginia, we come here and honestly, we probably play our best game of the year. And we had prepared those guys so well of what it's like to play on the blue and just the atmosphere that the place brings. And our guys, we were really well prepared that day, and we played a really good game. And so, yeah, it's gone, kind of back and forth in my career with these guys, but I'm glad to be on this side. I'll tell you that much. And especially being able to play on the blue, just feel extremely grateful for that opportunity to be a part of that tradition.
Appreciate it, Kelly. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Let's go to Ron and then BJ next.
Hey, Kelly, Ron Counts with the Idaho Statesman. Actually, I covered Virginia for a few years for the Daily Progress. Not sure if you remember me or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you look familiar, Ron. How you doing?
Welcome back out west.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
So you had a chance to actually come back out this past fall when Virginia played at BYU. What was it like to be back in that environment?
It was wild, man. It was crazy. It made me actually appreciate what I had as a coach there for 7 years and as a player. Just a place that loves football, great atmosphere. The stadium was awesome. That night obviously didn't go our way. We didn't play good defensively, but man, it was weird. That's for sure, to be on that other side. And, hopefully look forward to getting back, on that sideline again one day, on that opposite side, to be able to play him in that stadium. But yeah, just, it was just fun to get back out this way, get back out west, and yeah, just be able to be a part of that atmosphere again.
You talked about kind of creating habit and being disruptive on the edge. At Virginia, you had two long guys that could do that in Charles Snowden and Noah Taylor. Is that kind of the blueprint for edge guys, in your opinion, that long athletic guy?
Yeah, man, I love length. I think length is one of the reasons why, edge players can have success, especially when they're not, that they're not going to be bigger, probably not going to be stronger than the offensive tackles that they're going against. But the length provides them, a chance to get separation and a chance to be able to win, with leverage. And so, it's worked really well in the past, not just at Virginia, but also at BYU as well. And I think there's some good length here. They've recruited really good length, and not the 6'7" Charles Snowden guys that I had there, Noah Taylor's, but pretty good. And I think, the young kid that they recruited this year in Jaden Virgin, I think, kind of fits in that mold as well. So I just feel really excited about the players that were put in place here.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey, Kelly, BJ Rains with Bronco Nation News. Welcome to town. I'm curious, you talked about the month you were in limbo, or those couple of weeks where you didn't have a job, you weren't sure what was going to happen. What was that feeling like? You probably haven't had an experience like that very often or in a while. Were you ever at all nervous if you were going to, find a job, or what was kind of that process like?
Yeah, so I played in the NFL, had a little stint there, and it reminded me of that, of just, walking into the GM's office and him telling you that, we're moving in another direction. And so, I'd been prepared, I think, in the past for my experience that I had in the NFL, and I was on, 3 different teams in one season. And so I think that experience kind of prepared me for this, but there's nothing like, losing your job, and especially the way that it happened, just so surprising. Sometimes what's going to happen. In this case, I had no idea that Bronco was going to step down. And, for that week, or not week, but that whole month of December, pretty much just, being able to connect with as many people as I could. But yeah, there was doubt. I can't lie. I think I'm a pretty good coach, but my network was small. That was one of the, the kind of the double-edged sword I had with being with Bronco for so long, with 13 years, is I had consistency, and a guy that was, we were loyal to each other for so long, but at the same time, your network wasn't as good as it could have been if I, in that 13-year span, I'd been on 6 different staffs, and then my network would have been that much bigger. And so, yeah, it just showed me that your network in college coaching is one of the best things that you have to have, and always being able to develop that. And like I said, one of the key things with this situation that happened was just being able to stay connected with Frank. And, it wasn't like all of a sudden I lost a job and I was, calling Frank. I had stayed connected with him for years and years. And just, I think that's what you got to do, is you got to stay connected with guys, just, when these situations happen. And, fortunately there was a spot that opened up at the time, and it, things just kind of worked out the way they did.
You mentioned Frank, Spencer, Andy. What's just your impressions of this staff? Obviously kind of a younger staff here now, and just your thoughts on this program and kind of the direction it's heading. I know 7-5 wasn't, didn't suit a lot of people well around here, but what do you see from afar and now coming in that in terms of the direction this program's headed? Yeah,
I mean, like I said before, I've been really impressed with the culture. I think they have a very strong culture. They work hard, their blue collar mentality is what they call it. A brotherhood. He talks a lot about the brotherhood, and I think the guys take care of each other. And I think the guys really love football here. I think they've done a great job of recruiting guys that love the game of football, which I think is probably, besides having high character, number 2 is you got to love the game. And just been really impressed with the culture. And I think, it takes time. And no matter how good the traditions have been in the past, when a new coach comes in, it takes time for him to set his culture. His culture was different than the coach previous to this. And so, yeah, sometimes there's going to be some bumps in the road, and, things aren't going to go, perfectly in year 1 as a head coach. And so I know Coach Avalos, obviously in our whole program and our whole staff, we know what the expectations are. And that was one of the things that I loved about this opportunity, is the expectations and the love of football that that Bronco Nation has, and that this university has, and that our program has. Most importantly, I think the expectation of our program is is bigger than anybody's. You know, it doesn't matter. The expectations that are set outside really don't matter, honestly. What matters is the expectations that we have inside the building, and inside the building, I know we want to win championships. And that's been clear from the very get-go, from Coach Avalos to the players, and from what I've seen over the days that I've been here. And just extremely excited to be a part of that. And it really reminds me a lot of the expectations that BYU fans had, and be a part of that program. Very, very similar feel. And it's good. You want to be a part of a program like that. I'm going to leave it at that. I was going to say something. I'm going to leave it at that.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Go to Will and then John.
Hey, Kelly, nice to meet you. My name is Will Hall. I work with Jay at Channel 7. Was wondering how excited you are to be able to finally work with Spencer now.
Yeah. Like I said, I would say the thing that stuck out to me the most over the last week is the people. I think Coach Avalos has done an amazing job of hiring great people. And so that's one thing in college football. I think you got to be a good person, because there is a lot of, and probably in every profession, there's a lot of knuckleheads. And, I've been really impressed with just the character of these guys, how they've welcomed me in. But then you got to know the game, and just being around the defensive coaches more than the offensive coaches. But I've been really impressed with Spencer. Very sharp, very detailed, knows the back end, knows the front, and just knows how to coordinate a defense. And I think that showed by just the way that they played this last year. I mean, one of the top defenses in the country. And so just feel very blessed and thankful to be a part of that.
What inspired you to want to go into coaching?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I got done with my NFL career, and then graduate assistant spot opened up at BYU, and I wanted to actually be a strength coach. And Bronco just said, hey, try out this coaching deal. You can always go and be a strength coach, but it's really hard to go from strength coach to coaching. And but a little easier transition from coaching to a strength coach. And so anyway, it really started with just my passion to help BYU, my former school. But then when I got into it, I thought, man, you can have a huge impact on people's lives. And as I got into, my second year as a GA, I was promoted middle of the season because Coach Mendenhall had to fire our defensive coordinator. So I was promoted to outside backers coach my second year as a GA. And I found really quickly the impact that I can have on these young men, not just on the field, but off the field, and the influence that I can help them with. And really, that's what it comes down to, is as a coach, my number one goal is to help these guys reach their potential as a person. And then I think if we do that along the way, it's going to help them reach their potential as a player as well. And I think they both work together. And really, that's the reason why I got into this deal, is to just help them see who they really can become and see how they can become the best version of themselves.
Thanks, Kelly. Nice to meet
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. John Mallory here with KTAK Sports Radio in Boise. Would you consider yourself a blue collar guy, from a blue collar family? Like, if so, how so?
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm from Wyoming, bro. Come on. What else is there, right? There's nothing else but blue collar in Wyoming. So yeah, born and raised 18 years in Evanston, Wyoming. And my dad was a park and recreation director. My mom was a nurse that worked nights. And so just learned my work ethic from them, and, just grinding, and my dad, he basically built a park and recreation director from the ground up, started in the late 1970s, and he just retired a few years ago, and now they live in Utah. But I just look at their work ethic and wanted to model that in my career. And so I was blessed. My parents taught me really, really well that nothing in life is given to you. You got to earn it, and it's earned through hard work. And that's something that I've applied into my coaching and playing career as well.
I got time for two follow-ups. They came, Ron and then Mike, and then we're going to cut it off.
So Kelly, Mike kind of mentioned it in his first question. There was a long line of Poppingas to come through BYU. What was it like to kind of follow in your dad's footsteps and to play there at the same school as your brother?
It was a place I always wanted to play because my dad played there. We went to games growing up. Evanston, not too far from Provo, about 2 hours. So yeah, pretty much every Saturday in the fall we were there. And so yeah, it was a place that I always wanted to play. And shoot, I followed my older brother Brady. Not too far after he got done, I was there playing, and he had a very successful career. But it was really no different than me in high school. It was the same thing in high school, So I kind of knew what the expectations were, with the Poppinga name and how I had to be great. And so I love high expectations because I think it makes the best version of yourself. And without those expectations, who knows what I would have become, as a player, but also as a coach. But it's been an exciting just life to be able to be. I'm the little brother. There's 6 kids in my family. I'm the 5th. I have a little sister, but yeah, there's always been these expectations on me of just say, what are you going to do? Following the footsteps of not just Brady, but I have another brother, Casey, as well, and then sisters that played in college sports as well. So there was always this expectation of greatness, and I think as a little brother, I always wanted to live up to those and to make them better. And that's always my goal, is just really give my best step forward and do my very best. And that's what I think you guys will get from me, is that, I'm going to do my very best and put forth the effort to help this team take the next step forward.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Kelly, in 2004, 2005, you transferred from Utah State to BYU back in the day when it was a big deal to transfer, and a lot was in that process. And then you had to sit out your year and do your thing. Obviously, the transfer portal has changed college football. How has it changed? How can you make it beneficial for Boise State? What's your perspective on transferring, considering you did this 15, 16, 17 years ago?
Yeah, I think it's good for the players to have an opportunity to leave. In my circumstances, the head coach at Utah State had gotten fired. The head coach at BYU had gotten fired. And it was a good time, for me to leave. It just worked well for me. I'm not saying it's like that for everybody. But I do think players do have to have an option. Coaches leave. And sometimes, and then what I've learned over the last month, just looking at Virginia's roster, players aren't choosing the place because of the place all of the time. They're choosing the place because of the coach and the relationship they build with the coach. And so if that coach leaves, I believe the player needs an opportunity to look elsewhere. And so I think the portal is good for that. Now, I do think there's other things that kids are leaving for that I think are ridiculous, for playing time, and, different things like that I think are pretty selfish, honestly. But, they have that option. They can leave. And what a lot of kids are finding out, they go in that portal and they're not coming out, and so you better be careful when you go in there that that there's interest, because if there's not, you might not ever play again, or you might end up in an FCS school or Division II school, which I've seen some of my former players do that have entered into the portal. So I do think it's good for circumstances where a player feels like, he's not going to mesh well with the new coach coming in because he had a good relationship with the other coaches, or, some things just change sometimes. And, I'm not saying that's, everybody has different circumstances. So I think for giving the kids the opportunity to leave, I think is good. And I think the one-time transfer thing is good with no penalty. I think it's good. Now, I do think there is a way that we can fix it as far as, how many players a team can take. I don't think it's healthy for a team to fill their roster with transfer portal guys. They're never going to be able to build any culture. So yeah, I think there's something there of, when guys can transfer, how many guys can transfer into your team. I think there's something there, kind of like in free agency in the NFL. There's a free agency period, and then there's, they're only taking so many free agents. They're not filling their whole roster with free agents, So if there was a limit of guys you could take and a time frame of when guys could transfer, I think that would help kind of slow things down a little bit. And then there's a tampering issue as well that I do not like at all, that, there's certain agents or whoever that are reaching out to guys that are on rosters, asking if they have interest to go to this place or that place, which I think is completely wrong and unethical. And somehow we got to stop that. But yeah, I think there's some pros and cons to it. But yeah, I think there's some things that we need to fix with it for sure.
Thank you.
Kelly, thanks for the time today. Looking forward to meeting you when you get back to Boise.
All righty. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kelly.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
Sarah will
Take
have the
care.
recording to you guys shortly. Appreciate you. See you guys tomorrow.